What is up, everybody? Hope everyone's having a great weekend or had a great weekend. Unfortunately, the weekend is about over, but until that time, it is Sunday night. It is 8 p.m., 8:05-ish Eastern time, 7:05 Central. It is time for the Going Broadway podcast. Alex and Cole with you as always. Cole, what's going on?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Going Broadway podcast. Excuse my voice. It's a little rough. I've had a bit of a weekend, but we are here. We are live, and we are ready to talk wrestling.
Yeah, we have titles now. No, and StreamYard has a little new feature that you can basically give yourself a headline or whatever. And so we decided to play around with it. We figured why not? So just a blanket good evening to everyone on the chat. If you're not familiar with us, if this is your first time watching, welcome. Chime in on the conversation. Let us know that you're here. And yeah, Chris, I was telling Cole about that. I don't know what's going on. This is like the third week in a row that the exposure on my webcam is just like, see, watch this. If I put my hand over the camera and back it away, that's what it should look like. And then it just like auto brightness. I don't know. So,
oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it's like Sheamus is really standing right over here and he's reflecting the light on me. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah, and I tried to, before we started, see if I could adjust the brightness or exposure, and unfortunately I cannot. So we're just gonna make do.
Spray tans. It's time to get the spray tans going, Alex.
Well, okay. So what's funny is it was either during our interview with Kylie or Medusa, one of the two. But I noticed like the webcam was doing the exact opposite. It was making me look really tan, which I'm not at all. So I don't know what's going on with this webcam. I'll figure it out in the coming weeks. But in the meantime, all right, we got some business to take care of first before we jump in too much, because this week's podcast is unofficially sponsored by Pitch Black. So we got a taste test to get taken care of. Get out of the way.
We joked about this. I think, was it off air? I think last week we joked about this. We were like, I don't even know does it taste good? Like we were like, they're like hyping up this Mountain Dew thing on this pay-per-view. Like, does it even taste good? And Alex is like, we should just drink them during the show next week. I was like,
why not?
Okay,
why not?
So are we doing this right now?
We're doing it right now.
Cheers to everybody. Let's hope it tastes good.
It is better than the match.
It's not bad. It's kind of like grape soda.
Well, okay, so it does have a grape flavor, but it says nothing about grape in the
dark citrus punch.
Yeah, it's more like a it's okay. If you I have this uncanny ability to remember stuff from my childhood, certain things, and then certain things I just don't recall at all. And it's like the unimportant things I remember. This reminds me of black cherry Kool-Aid.
I could.
It's like a very carbonated black cherry Kool-Aid.
It's not bad.
I like Code Red better.
I bought a Code Red tonight too. I was like,
and what's funny, when I bought this, the gas station, there's like 10 different kinds of Mountain Dew now. Well, they brought Live Wire back. There's like a blue kind, and it's.
You had said that you had a pretty easy time finding it. I actually had to go to like 4 gas stations this evening to try to find it. I was like, man, like that nobody wants this thing here. But now that I think about it, man, WWE should have done, when Code Red first came out, they should have let that sponsor one of Kane's matches. Like, right. What are we've been missing it this entire time?
Well, and I'll tell you what, we can talk about this, and I didn't even plan on talking about it. Have you seen that there's going to be like future sponsorships
on the ring aprons, the turnbuckles
for the match? Yeah, for the matches, they want to monetize the quote unquote WWE assets. I mean, I'm okay with it, just from the standpoint. I mean, any other wrestling company's done it. Impact did it. WCW did it. AEW currently does it. So I don't have a problem with it. I think it's just the conceptual part of it when they said this is going to be a pitch black match. Nobody knew what that was. And then when we got what we got, it's literally a match in the dark with a bunch of black lights. It's like, come
I
on.
would say, like, obviously they were trying to make it make sense, but I would say moving forward, just let it be the sponsorship. Like, you don't got to make a match centered around the name of that thing. Like, what's next? You know, like the we're gonna do a toilet paper, match or whatever, and it's like first person who gets mummified win. You know, like it
I was
would
going
be.
in a completely different direction. I was trying to attribute it like the Charmin crying coal match.
Oh wow. um, you know what I mean? But like, they don't need to make the match centered around it. I really don't have a problem with it. Here's the thing: like, as a business, why wouldn't you want to make more money?
Oh,
Like,
agreed. 100% agreed.
I've seen people be like kind of up in arms about it. And I'm like, what does it matter if the ring apron has a sponsorship on it or a match is sponsored by, like, it
It's in all
affects you in no
professional
way.
it's in all professional sports. I mean,
Right.
your boxing ring is littered with sponsorship logos and such. Yeah. So anyway, so on a scale of 10, 1 to 10.
It's not my favorite Mountain Dew. I'm gonna give it like a 6.
I was thinking 6.5.
It's
I'm
never.
gonna go. I'm gonna go 7, just because I feel like anything that's like, I feel like if it's a 6, it's just like I'm tolerating it. Like my taste buds are okay with it, but it's not something I'd buy again. I'd buy this again. I mean, if I want that, so this does have a Mountain Dew flavor. I should have said that, you can, like with Code Red, you can taste the Mountain Dew. You can in this as well. So it's like black
Right.
cherry Kool-Aid carbonated with Mountain Dew. So
Yeah,
if
it's not bad.
I'm looking for Code Red and they don't have it, but they have this, I'd probably buy it.
Yeah, it's all right. It's not my
So,
favorite, but it's all right.
okay. So moving on, I had a couple of off the top, like mini segments that we could discuss if we wanted to. Vengeance Day was on last night. I have not watched it. I mean, I've kept up with the results and things like that. I have zero opinions on it. Is there anything you wanted to talk about coming out of it? I mean, I know they've set up, we're going to get Braun Breaker and Carmelo, good grief, about to say Carmelo Anthony, Carmelo Hayes, obviously. Your thoughts on that? I mean, is this finally the point? Well, okay, twofold part of the conversation. A, is this going to be Carmelo's crowning moment during Mania weekend? / does Braun Breaker get moved up immediately to Raw or SmackDown? Plus, with the Grayson Waller loss, does he move up to Raw or SmackDown anytime soon?
So I'm kind of trying to think through that. I think some massive things happened on the show. Now, I like you. I was in Atlanta this past weekend. I got in at I got up at 4:30 this morning to fly back home.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you real quick too, guys. It is a miracle Cole's on this podcast tonight. I'm just saying. If he wants to go into it, go for it. If not, that's totally fine.
I'm not going to give the deep story, but long story short, I had an event this past weekend. I was doing music outside of Atlanta area, and the hotel that I was staying in just had some visitors that weren't very nice and respectful about quiet time hours. And my wife and we got literally zero sleep the past like 3 days. But specifically today, we got no sleep. We had to be at the airport early. We've been going nonstop all day. So, but with that being said, I haven't had a chance to watch it, but I did see the results. And I think there's a lot of key things that happen. One thing to note is this is the first show that NXT has been back on the road since COVID, right? Like since they shut. Yeah. I mean, like this couple years now since they've been on the road. So I thought that was something to note that was kind of special. Also, specifically to your question, out of some of the things that happened, the only thing that concerns me about this being Carmelo's shining moment is it too early to build the story for Mania weekend? Like, because NXT it's still a weekly show. I don't know if they're gonna run if they don't run another pay-per-view until WrestleMania weekend, then I would say yes. Like you can build the story up long term to that pay-per-view. But I kind of feel like they'll do one the same weekend, like after Elimination Chamber, somewhere like in between Elimination Chamber and Mania, there might be an NXT pay-per-view.
Okay.
But hopefully they don't. Hopefully they do NXT takeover, whatever they're gonna call it, Mania weekend. I think that if you're gonna look at the NXT roster in its current state, without bringing somebody down off of the main roster, without signing a new talent, without boosting somebody else up, where they're at currently, the only name that is on that list that should dethrone Braun Breaker is Carmelo Hayes.
100% agreed.
There's not. Now there are people that I think that could beat Carmelo Hayes fine, after Braun's good and well and gone at some point. But I don't think they've built up anybody else that realistically, in my mind, screams, "Oh yeah, he could be the one that beats Braun Breaker." Braun's been on a huge run. The two things that make me nervous though is I don't know if Braun Breaker has developed himself enough character wise, like personality wise, to make it on Raw or SmackDown. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like I just feel like promos are still kind of a struggle. That they're one sided. They're very narrow. It's aggression and aggression only. Like there's really nothing else, and it kind of feels forced at times still. So I'm a little nervous about the promo aspect of it. And I'm also nervous about where they're at right now on the rosters for Raw and SmackDown. Obviously, I think we'll get a superstar shakeup type thing after Mania. So, you might get a fresh start, where the scales are kind of balanced at that point. But I think he should be bigger than mid card, but I think he'll end up falling and getting stuck in the mid card because they won't want him to lose to the main champion right away, but they don't want him to lose steam. So those are the two things that concern me. But long story short, I think that if you're going to do Carmelo versus Braun, Carmelo has to be the one to go over. Now, whether or not it's the first time they meet up could be a whole different story. They could match up on an NXT, Braun gets the win, and, but, they continue to work the storyline for them to do a bigger match on, the takeover, and that's when Carmelo gets the win. I do think that after this matchup, though, name another competitor that would make any sense for Braun Breaker on NXT. Like Jinder Mahal, maybe just based off of the fact that he's been a world champion before. But outside of that, I really can't. I can't put my finger on somebody that's just got it like that currently. As far as Grayson Waller goes, I would probably make Grayson Waller North American champion one time before I call him up. I think that he's got the mic skills. I don't think he's bad in the ring, but I think he's one of those guys that needs an accolade to build off of when he gets to the main roster.
Okay.
He's taken a lot of losses in NXT. Like he's always in the picture, right? But like he's not won a North American title match. He's been in several of them. He's not won a main championship. He was in the War Games match, and I believe was on the losing side. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that he was on the losing side. No, I guess not. No, I'm wrong on that. Sorry. Because it was new school versus old school. And he was part of the new school.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, yeah. So anyways, I think he needs some accolades before you call him up. He'll do good on the mic, but like, can you put Grayson Waller versus even an Austin Theory right now? Like, can you really put that on and be like, oh yeah, like people are gonna be into that? I just don't know if he's there yet. I think if he had some accolades, that would definitely help.
Couple of either an accolade, like you said, like a championship, or a couple of big storylines. And not to say that they can't do that, but I agree. Too soon for Grayson Waller. But I think whichever one comes out of the championship match between Carmelo and Braun Breaker. I think it's, they're going to Raw or SmackDown. I think it's a foregone conclusion. If it were me, I would actually have, and this actually kind of goes with what you said, I would actually keep the belt on Braun Breaker, keep him around NXT, and put Carmelo on Raw or SmackDown. I think he's more ready than Braun Breaker is, in my opinion.
I think when you're talking complete package, the only thing that Braun has over Carmelo obviously is the look, the size that they like, the ability is there obviously for Braun, but Carmelo's great in the ring. He's good on the mic. I don't know what happens to Trick Williams. I don't think you can call Trick up with him. I think Trick is rough in the ring still needs some time. Not that he couldn't get there, but I think he still needs some adapting. They do feed well off of each other on the mic. But if it were me, if they are going to do something with the Hurt Business, Carmelo Hayes could fit well in that.
I'll let you keep going. You read my mind, because that's exactly where I was going.
I think that's a good fit. If you like Hit Row, I think Carmelo Hayes could be a good fit for Hit Row as well. As far as kind of giving them, they had, Swerve, right? Like that was kind of they're going to be their main person, I guess.
You absolutely could.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it would be the equivalent of putting back when they put CM Punk with Paul Heyman.
Mm-hmm.
Punk didn't need Heyman, but it helped. And I think it created that value. And I think
it helped, and it just fit. Like, it was just a natural fit. And sometimes in wrestling, you just have those instances where, whether it's a manager and a singles wrestler or a tag team, it just fits. Like in the example of a tag team, like you had Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard that were singles wrestlers, but they just fit together as a tag team. Like, it just worked. It just an intangible thing that, you just can't put into words, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. So what about your thoughts on the title changes? Both tag championships changed hands.
I really thought the New Day one was going to be short, so that doesn't shock me.
Mm-hmm.
As far as who they put it on, I was a little shocked. Not that I'm against Gallus, but I've been noticing that the people that they've brought over from NXT UK and have kind of let them have a mainstay, they're kind of intermittently, especially in the tag division, letting them have title runs.
Mm-hmm.
You saw it with Pretty Deadly. You've seen it now with Gallus. I don't know. I'm not opposed to it. I thought New Day was obviously bringing a little bit of exposure to the tag division there. And I just don't know if Gallus can do the same.
Well, let me ask you this, because I've seen this on social media, and I've been vocal before. I'm not an avid NXT viewer. And that's not for any particular reason, at least recently, because the product overall has been better, including NXT. It's just a matter of hours in a day, hours in a week, and just NXT is not on it's not high on my priority list. But I saw a lot of people on social media say that the call should have been to have New Day retain here, but then defend against Chase U during Mania weekend, and then have the change happen there. Like, can you speak to that? Like, because I honestly don't know, guys. If you watch NXT, you guys that are watching us now, chime in on that. I mean, I saw a lot of people say that, and so elaborate on that.
The Chase U thing for me, it has organically in NXT been one of those things where people are starting to kind of maybe get behind it, but it's one of those gimmicks I just can't. It is an Orange Cassidy, Danhausen gimmick. It's too goofy for me.
Okay.
To get behind it to the extent of like, oh yeah, like, long term. I don't think you could have New Day lose to them. You know what I mean? Like, I think you got to put some respect on New Day's name. They're one of your longevity wise, one of your best tag teams you've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't put the Usos down there and have the Usos lose to Chase U. You wouldn't put, insert hot tag team that's been around for a good long while down there and have them lose. If it were me, if you don't have any plans to call the Creed brothers up, I think the Creed brothers are the best tag team they have on the roster to
where were
date
they
still.
at on this pay-per-view?
They're still having them run this thing with Sheer, the Jinder
Oh.
Mahal tag team thing, which was basically like repackaging Veer Mahan with another guy that looks like Veer Mahan and putting them in a tag team. Like, it just, I don't know. Like, I would put them back on the Creed brothers. I think that that's something you could do if you don't have plans for Carmelo Hayes to come up anytime soon. Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes, I could see doing something in the tag division. And then trying to think who else is there. Actually, I'll tell you who I like, and I think there's a lot of potential for them on the main roster when they're ready. Is that Brooks and Jensen, the country boy
Okay.
thing? It kind of gives me flashes of what was that, Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch.
Yeah.
It kind of gives me that vibe, like a newer school version of that. And Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch, I think they were like a 3 or 4 time tag team champions at least. I remember them holding the belts more than once, at one point. So I think there's a lot of potential for them that if you gave them, they do a lot of funny skits. You have the bar, they own the bar and with Fallon Henley.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously now you have storylines there too, because Fallon Henley and Kiana James, who was just thrown together a week ago, beat Kaden Carter and
Katana.
Katana. I hate that name. She had her Casey Catanzaro name was just fine, but
Yeah.
Katana Chance. I think unless they're going to bring Kaden Carter and Katana Chance up to the main roster because they want more women's tag teams that are established, I don't understand that call. The crowd pops for Kaden and Katana. They do the really cool entrance. They dance. They're upbeat. They're great baby faces. I don't get the call to put it on 2 women that, Kiana James, other than the Iron Survivor, she's had like 3 matches, I think, total on NXT. If you were going to throw a team together and give them a belt, why not do it with like Sol Ruka, who you're trying to get built up right now? Throw her into a tag team with, she's who's she just befriend? Roxanne Perez, or I forget who she just helped out. But I'm like, why not boost somebody that you actually see real potential? Not that they don't in these. I'm just saying, like, you've not used these women so far, so I'm kind of, I don't know. It's weird to me that they haven't done anything. Cora Jade, that's a good one too. Put Cora Jade in a tag team. Indy Hartwell.
Mm-hmm.
If these are women that you don't have plans for right now, they're more established to me to be people that could beat a good women's tag team that you've been building for years now. So interesting calls, I think, on both of them.
I'm
Interested to see what they do.
wondering if Nikita Lyons was supposed to somehow be involved with, if they had planned on doing this title change and for some reason, like, her injury, just they had to pivot for some reason. I don't know. I don't watch NXT that often, but I follow it enough to understand the fact that this was a very oddly, bizarrely timed title change. And given that it is, it's not, it's not Mania weekend. It's not a big pay-per-view weekend. I mean, it was literally, it wasn't an NXT pay-per-view that led into another WWE pay-per-view, which that only happens with the big 4 pay-per-views. But it just seemed random, I guess, is the best way to phrase it. So, okay, so we'll kind of piggyback the women's wrestling conversation to this. And again, you guys that are watching are welcome to chime in with your opinions. We'll throw some comments up as well. I kind of feel like they've spent way too much time trying to make damage control work, and something is just not clicking. And Dakota Kai's recent injury does not help things. Do you think it's time we being WWE, somehow split them up? not necessarily engaging in any kind of feud, although I guess you could. But it just, I don't know. It's like you got the pop at Mania last year. Was it Mania last year? I think.
SummerSlam. SummerSlam when
Yeah, okay.
Becky and Bianca.
You got the pop at SummerSlam, but just ever since then, it's just, I mean, you have Bayley lose a ton. I mean, I get that you put the women's tag belts on Io and Dakota, but it just seems like it's, I don't want to say it's been a flop, but
it's struggling though. I'll give you that.
So what do you think we should do from here? Or I'm sorry, what do you think WWE should do from here? Just because, excuse me, it just seems like it's not working. It's not clicked almost the entire time. And again, you could possibly attribute it to, Bayley's booking, maybe, but I don't think you can blame it all on that. It just seems like it seems like the group just lacks chemistry. They don't get the crowd reactions. I don't know.
So you bring up a good point that you can't get a group over if you keep having them take the loss on the big matches. Bayley being one of the 4 horsewomen, always over, has one of the best women's title reigns of the women's revolution era, if you will. I gotta save this for later. I don't know why they didn't put the belt on her and one of those altercations with Bianca, because if you want to get a faction over, that's how you do it.
Yep.
I do think they made the right call of putting the belts on Io and Dakota because it gives them something. If it were me, if I want to get Io and Dakota Kai over, I have them turn on Bayley as faces. So basically Bayley's, always taking the credit. She's always doing this, that, or the other, and then starts putting all of the blame on them for her losses. So you can kind of build that storyline up that Bayley's now kind of overstepping. And then they start kind of making comments of like, well, we're the ones that have gold. We're the ones that can actually win a match and win the big one, and kind of set it up to where maybe Bayley brings in a new NXT call-up like a Zoe Stark, a Cora Jade, insert whatever name you want to insert, or somebody who's coming back or doing a character change. Maybe it's Lacey Evans if you're trying to get her over to kind of support, and you set up a women's tag match at Mania with Bayley, insert partner here, versus Io and Dakota. Now you have more of a marquee match because Bayley's in it against who used to be Damage Control. Damage Control can still carry that name, and then eventually have Io or Dakota turn on each other, kind of get them out of that tag team because they don't really make sense together. In my personal opinion, if they have no plans for Asuka, I think Asuka and Io would be a great tag team. They both have the Empress of Tomorrow and the Empress of the Sky tagline, so you could do something with that Empress name as far as like their tag team mold. But I think they just fit together. Dakota Kai I've not disliked her, but I've never seen the it factor either, so I think that she would go cold on her own. But yeah, I think that they definitely need to get away from Bayley, because Bayley obviously is always going to be liked because of who she has been in the business. But if they're not going to have Bayley win the big one, you can't put people you're trying to get over with someone who's there to take. Bayley's kind of the Seth Rollins right now in the women's division. She's always going to be over. You never have to worry about her losing steam, but she's there to give everybody else the W right now to kind of get them, over the hill. And so you can't get your team over the hill, though. It's kind of like if Seth Rollins was to have a faction right now and he's taking every loss under the sun, It just doesn't make sense.
No, I agree. So I'm going to pivot a little bit here. I'm going to change the show around. So we're going to go straight to unpopular opinions. I was going to save this for later. But given another segment that we'll get to with, time pending, I do want to get a thought out before we do the later segment. if that makes sense. But
Yeah.
so I've got a few in my back pocket. Changing my title to Ross. What'd I miss?
I don't know.
Over my head. I don't know.
I missed it too.
Anyway. Okay. So this past week we celebrated.
I get it now.
The what?
He's calling you Ross from Friends. Pivot.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I get it now.
Lost my train of thought.
So unpopular opinions, you said you had a couple.
Yeah. So we celebrated. Just a second. Okay. So this past week we celebrated the 20th anniversary, I believe, of Evolution, which is just crazy to think about. But it got me to thinking as far as the history of just stables and groups and factions and whatnot in the history of wrestling. Evolution, again, the title of this segment is Unpopular Opinions. Evolution would not make my top 5 of groups, stables, factions, whatever of all time. They may not even make my top 10.
Now we got to discuss that because
okay.
I'm trying to think that through. Okay. So
So
let's go with top 5 first because you said for sure top 5.
So I don't have any like organized list or whatever, but I mean, one's off the top of my head that I would easily put before Evolution. I'd put the 4 Horsemen before Evolution.
Because you can't get Evolution or any of these other groups without the 4 Horsemen.
I would put NWO ahead.
I could agree with that.
I would put DX ahead.
Have to. Monday Night Wars between those. Yep.
I would put the Heenan family ahead.
Okay.
Go back in the day. I would put. Hold on just a second. I said I didn't have a list, and I actually might have made one.
So you have 4 already. So
just trying to. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Let me see. Okay. So 4 Horsemen, NWO, DX, Heenan family, the Corporation. So, I mean, that's when you had Undertaker, Triple H, Vince and Shane, and but you've got the Dangerous Alliance as well. I mean, there are some others that you can make an argument for, like the Hart Foundation. If you really wanted to go there, Bullet Club. I'm just saying, like, if I sat down, if I made a list of my top 10 stables, groups, whatever of all time, they would probably make my top 10. They definitely would not make my top 5.
All right, I'm trying to get something pulled up here. So, all right, so I'm gonna kind of go through some of these, and you just tell me yay or nay. Now, these aren't just WWE factions. Some of them are gonna be whatever. I think they're gonna be easier answers, but I'm just curious now.
Yay or nay that they are above Evolution in my list?
And yeah, as far as like overall impact, how you enjoyed them, all that.
Okay.
TNA's Fortune.
Nay. I'd put Evolution above them.
Team Canada.
No. Evolution.
Imperium.
Evolution.
The Dark Order.
Evolution. Oh. I don't even know why I had to pause on that.
The Spirit Squad.
Gosh, Evolution.
I just found a list of 50 of them. The Right to Censor.
Evolution. Did I not mention Hart Foundation earlier?
You did.
If I didn't, I meant to.
You said the Corporation. Some of these I'm not even going to say it. Well, okay, here's a good one. The Wyatt family.
Evolution.
Okay. The Cabinet with JBL.
Evolution.
Okay. Here, I'll take you back here. TNA's Immortal. Hulk Hogan,
Evolution.
Eric Bischoff, Jeff Hardy, Ric Flair, Abyss, Jeff Jarrett, Matt Hardy, Scott Steiner, and other, like, what a random bag.
Well, now here's one you could throw out there. What was the group name where you had Nash, Angle, Sting?
Main Event Mafia.
Main Event Mafia. Yeah.
I just came across their name.
Okay. That's debatable.
So that group was Kevin Nash, Kurt Angle. The original members was Kevin Nash, Kurt Angle, Booker T, Scott Steiner, Sting, with Samoa Joe and others later joining.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can make a case for that in terms of just accolades and championships and things like that. I would still put Evolution, above that in terms of just entertainment. And that was actually at a point where I wasn't even watching TNA anymore. So,
all right, here's another good one. Undisputed Era.
Ooh, gosh. I mean, I'm super partial to NXT Black and Gold.
They both have arguments. There's great arguments for both.
Man, I'd have to say Undisputed Era for me personally.
I'm kind of leaning that way too. The Ministry of Darkness.
I kind of group that as the corporation because you've got like corporate ministry or whatever.
Right. The Nexus.
Oh, Evolution.
Aces and Eights.
Evolution.
The Authority.
Oh, yeah.
So you're looking at...
No pun intended. I'm wearing my Watcho Man hoodie.
Randy Orton, Corporate King, Seth Rollins, The Big Show, and the New Age
I'm going with the Authority on that one.
Okay.
Now, I get that some of these discussions are kind of more unfair because you've got more people in the group.
Right.
But like, we can't control that. That's
a faction is 3 or more. So that's what we're looking at. So a couple more. Nation of Domination.
Oh, Evolution.
Bullet Club. The original Bullet Club, not what it is now.
Well, okay, so if you say original Bullet Club,
they're saying. So you're looking at Finn Balor, Kenny Omega, AJ Styles, the Young Bucks, Cody, Doc. This is the names they're giving. Doc Gallows, Carla Anderson, Marty Scurll.
So that wasn't the original, but that's when it was at its peak.
Right.
Man, unpopular opinion, and I'm not just saying this because it, helps the segment, quote unquote, helps the segment, so to speak. I'm saying Bullet Club.
I think Bullet Club may have had a more global impact, which is something that you could argue than Evolution. The Elite.
Evolution.
All right, this is the top 10 on the list that I found. The Dangerous Alliance.
Dangerous Alliance.
The Inner Circle.
Evolution.
The Alliance itself, led by Shane and Stephanie McMahon, Booker T, Rob Van Dam, the Dudley Boys, Rhino, Diamond Dallas Page, Christian.
Yeah, I'm still saying Evolution there.
So fun fact for you, the Heenan family is ranked above, and you've already said them. The Hart Foundation ranked above, the Corporation ranked above, D-Generation X ranked above. The Four Horsemen shockingly is number 2 on this list. And number 1 is New World Order.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I think I would agree I think we like Evolution because of the names that are involved with it, and they did do a good job with it. But there's names on that list that I would even include that, I'm shocked that they're not even on that list.
I want to throw out another unpopular opinion. It's kind of a piggyback to this one. And maybe it's not an unpopular opinion. I know it'll be unpopular with you. I think Batista is a better actor than John Cena.
Man, people have been saying this. Okay, here's my thing. The comment that I heard, I think there's an argument for John Cena and Batista. I think that you could make the argument that Batista is better, and I could understand it. The thing that I didn't like is when they said that Batista was the best actor to come out of WWE. I don't think that Batista is better than The Rock. Maybe got better than when The Rock came out first, because The Rock's first couple movies were cringe. but now like it's not even close. But John Cena, I think some of it's how you get casted too. Like John Cena's done a lot more goofier, funnier roles. Batista's been in a lot more serious roles. But I think there's at least an argument there. I could understand it.
Have you watched any of the Marine movies? Not to get off on a tangent. The Marine movies where it's got the Miz in it now. Have you seen any of those?
I have not watched. I saw the original Marine, and that was it.
They're actually not half bad. I've seen 2 of them, and he's the storyline is what's more cheesy than far more cheesy than the acting. Like Miz he's not bad, or I'm sorry, he's not great, but he's definitely not horrible. Like, I mean, you would think that because of his history with just reality television, and because throughout a lot of his WWE tenure, he's had more of a comedic flavor to him. They're not bad. I just wanted to throw that out there because I'm thinking of other WWE guys that have done movies and TV and things like that. Who's all done the Marine movies?
So one of the ones they did had like an entire like WWE cast.
Oh no, I just mean the main role.
Well, I think it's just been Cena and the Miz.
What didn't Orton do a
or he's done like a WWE movie, but I don't know if it was the Marine.
Well, I thought he did a movie that eventually became like a series of movies that he only did one of them. Did Orton do a Marine movie?
I'm checking right now.
Okay, so yeah, Orton was in one of the Marine movies.
No.
He was not.
He was in 12 Rounds.
12 Rounds.
So they did one of Cena's movies was 12 Rounds.
And then
after
Orton
the
did,
Marine.
Okay.
And Orton did that, and he did the Condemned 2.
Okay. That's what it was. Okay.
But cool. Actually, one of my unpopular opinions kind of piggybacks off yours as far as factions go. I saw this question posed the other day, and the answers were probably like 70-30 in disagreement of what I'm about to say.
Okay.
I think the Bloodline is a better faction than the Shield. I think that they have a better overall faction.
I don't know if that's even an unpopular opinion at this point.
I'm telling you, 70-30 was saying the Shield.
Ooh.
Over Bloodline. And
really?
This was one of the communities that I was looking at the post being posted in.
Oh.
And I was like,
no.
Oh,
I mean,
another good one to bring up.
Where the guys in the Shield have gone on, what they've gone on to do, sure. But
yeah, but okay, but matchup gone on to do, because if we're just talking world title reigns, I think that's unfair to compare to a faction that was built with tag team wrestlers in mind.
No, I agree with you. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying, if you compare groups, factions, whatever, however you want to word it, I'm going with Bloodline.
So another one that just came to my mind that I didn't even see on that list too is Legacy. I mean, when you look at Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, Ted DiBiase Jr., some of those. But when I saw the post, I was like, okay, if I'm looking at overall impact, the Bloodline in its current form has been the most entertaining thing on TV, and there's nothing even close to it when it comes to pro wrestling. Not in any other product. It's the story that takes over everything. You have one of the longest reigning champions ever now in the faction. He's the longest reigning in probably 3 or 4 decades at least. You have the tag team. Now they're the longest reigning tag team champions. You have the fact that they actually are all related. So I was trying to think, when's the last time we had a faction where the entire faction actually had a bloodline tie? Not no pun, but they actually were all related for real. Like, are we going back to the Hart Foundation? Like, I'm trying to think of
Hart Foundation. Yeah.
I can't think of another. Someone's going to have to correct me if I'm wrong, but When we're talking faction, I'm not just talking two brothers in a tag team. I'm talking faction.
Like an
Where
actual group.
everyone is legitimately related. I don't know if I can think of another one other than the Hart Foundation. Obviously, you could go back to like the Von Erichs, dating way back, but this is the first time we've had a family actually be good enough to be together in a faction. And so I think that they have, even though not all of them have been world champions, like that's the argument you can make for Shield, is that all of them went on to be world champions. It elevated all of their careers.
Just real quick, I mean, if you wanted to count this, I mean, you have the McMahons, but
I don't know if I would call them a faction though. Like,
well, no,
from that
if
standpoint.
you're including like the Authority storyline, but they're not like they're not using that in the storyline that they're family. That's just whatever the word I'm trying to think of. It's just a consequence of the group, I guess. Okay,
But yeah,
so
I'm saying Bloodline over Shield, but a lot of what I
am
saw
too.
was
Yeah,
Shield over
I agree with you.
Bloodline.
This will be an unpopular opinion with AEW fans out there. I think at the very most in 2023, they make one major signing and that's it. Possibly none. I think they're at a point where I'm hoping they're at a point where they've realized that they can only go so far with the major one-off pop for the new guy or the new girl that's come in, and then it just flatlines, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it. Plus, I mean, their focus is going to be doing their house shows now, which I think I'm skeptical if that's gonna last, but that's not for me to decide. So yeah, at the most in 2023, maybe one major signing. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't have any this year.
So I'll one up you on the AEW,
Okay.
because the thought that came to my mind was that my unpopular opinion about AEW is that everyone keeps telling me that WWE has the better storytelling, but AEW has the better wrestling. I actually disagree. I think AEW has the most botches I've seen per match, the most consistent botches match by match. A lot of matches feel like they're missing rhythm. They're missing cue, like you can tell their cue spots, like you really can tell where like that, like they planned everything out. And this is one of the things I think I loved when we interviewed with like Charlie Haas and some of these guys that talked about calling it in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to worry about hitting the cue spots. So it doesn't look choreographed because it's not choreographed. It's fluid. And so I actually disagree with most of what people say, that AEW has better wrestling. I think AEW takes more risk, but that doesn't equivalent to or equalize better wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the match of 7 series between the Elite and the what do they call that group?
Blocked.
What's their name? The Death Triangle. That's their name. I was trying to remember their name. Like that's match of 7. Most of those matches were terrible. They were awful. The so many botches. Everyone was disappointed with it. On paper, they should have been fire matches, but they were garbage. They were terrible matches. And I don't know. So that's me. I think that AEW is probably middle of the pack for me when it comes to like consistency in the ring.
I've not gone back to watch all of their best of 7 matches. That's what you're referring to, right?
Right.
I think I've watched 4 of the matches in their entirety, and I didn't like a single one of them. And that's saying something, because you guys know that I like Kenny Omega. I'll even go as far as to say I do like the Young Bucks. I know a lot of people don't like the flippy circus act or whatever. I'm entertained by it as long as the match is good, as long as there is a story being told during the match. I don't think you can make a match all out of high spots, but I think it gives it flavor and it adds something to it. But for me to say that I didn't like any of those 4 matches, coming from me,
Yeah.
that's a pretty telling thing. So
Well, I want to give you one more. This is not something that I came up with. This was a thought that someone in the wrestling community brought up. Want to get your thoughts on this because I think it's a hot take or an unpopular opinion. Conan, who books for AAA, recently just came out and put his stamp of approval on 2 names, one of them being Marty Scurll, the other one being Alberto Del Rio, or El Patron, or whatever he's going by these days.
Yeah.
But he said that specifically to Marty Scurll, that he was never convicted, that where he's from, what he did was legal. So why does he care what he did if it was here or there or wherever? But kind of put his stamp of approval. But then he went on to say that he is a better talent than anybody in AEW. He's yada yada. He was basically hyping him up over all these talents that are in AEW currently, and he then put his stamp of approval on Del Rio, who obviously we know has a past history of kind of being violent and abusive in his social life, and so
allegedly, just
right. Both of these are allegedly. They never were convicted.
Right,
so your thoughts on that a lot of people kind of blacklisted those guys pretty quick. So
I've never been an Alberto Del Rio guy. Even in WWE prior to all that stuff, I just never, I don't know, never got behind it. Never, I mean, I don't know, just heel or face. I just never got into it. Got into him, never got into his character. I can understand why some may have. I just did not. Marty Scurll, I would love it if he, were allowed to be in AEW or WWE. Notwithstanding the allegations and things like that. Now, do I agree that he is a better, or how did you word it? As far as
I
AEW,
believe the comment is that he is a bigger star than anybody in AEW is what
No.
I believe the comment was.
No, I disagree with that. But I would be on board with him joining AEW or WWE. Del Rio, I don't really care.
Agreed. I was just curious because when he said that, I was like, this is gonna ruffle some feathers a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
okay, I got one more for you.
Okay.
And this might be the peak of our unpopular opinions segment. At least how it is on paper right now, with how WWE is, the trajectory of their world title picture, I think that they're doing it right in terms of Sammy in Elimination Chamber and then Cody at WrestleMania. I know a lot of people want to see Sammy at WrestleMania. I don't. I'll preface. I should have prefaced by saying I don't necessarily want to see Sammy and KO in the tag title picture, which it sounds like that's the direction they're going to go. As of right now, I can understand how and why they could get to that story, which I don't want to jump the gun too much as far as our future segment. But I think it's the right call with the direction that they're going in.
So
to Andrew's point, I don't think so.
So I could get on board with that to an extent if it goes back to long-term storytelling. Because as I mentioned, I think 2 weeks ago or last week, I can't remember, I would be okay with Sammy taking the loss at Elimination Chamber if it circles back to him winning Money in the Bank. And then at some point getting his revenge on Roman by cashing in on him at some point. So that's where I could agree. If we're talking short term, though, The thing that bugs me about this storytelling, and I saw the comparison made about when they did Daniel Bryan and Batista and that whole thing, how the fans wanted Daniel Bryan and they had to kind of like force WWE's hand a little bit to give Daniel Bryan that moment, to kind of give him that push with the yes movement and stuff. I think when you organically build something like Sami Zayn, in this storyline, in this context, I think capping it off with a tag title run with someone that he's already done many tag type things with is such a low ball accomplishment with the storyline. You have a chance here to do something very big with it. I don't think you could ever organically get Sami Zayn back to a world title spot, without giving him this win at some point. And so it's kind of like, if we lose all the hype on him now, you're not going to get him back there. Kofi Mania is a perfect example of what I'm talking about too. Kofi was never supposed to be in that spot, but once he got in that spot, fans got behind it. You got to build the story that's there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Sammy story is there. I'm not against Cody winning though either. You know what I mean? So like, I don't think it's the same as the Batista Daniel Bryan thing. I think that you have a winning storyline regardless. I think the Cody Rhodes one is predictable. I think the Sammy Rhodes one is the story that writes itself. So that
I don't disagree. So, but here's part of my logic. Let's say Roman loses at Elimination Chamber, loses the title to Sammy, then how do you move forward with, Cody's title shot at Mania?
So if it were me, this is where I would split the belts, is that Elimination Chamber. If it were me, I would say that Roman would say, you don't deserve to challenge for both belts. You stabbed me in the back, yada, yada, yada. I'm not giving you an undisputed title shot. I'll give you a shot at the Raw title, because obviously you want to keep Roman's streak alive, which would be with the longest belt, the SmackDown Championship. So I would do that like that. This is where you can have the Jey Uso stuff come into play too. Jay's struggling. He's kind of confused because he trusts Sammy, and him and Sammy finally got their stuff sorted out. And I think they interviewed something along the lines, and Jay said, the tactics that Roman used on us are unfair, and I don't blame Sammy for what he did, and yada yada yada. I'm like, this is really good storytelling, to the point that if Jay was to help Sammy win one of the belts, you don't lose a main event title slot at WrestleMania, Roman versus Cody. Now the problem you have is, do you have Roman lose back-to-back pay-per-views?
No.
Do you have him?
That's part of my issue.
So now you have to decide, can Cody Rhodes afford to lose the WrestleMania moment for the belt, all this stuff that's been built? Or can you afford to have Sammy lose at Elimination Chamber in hopes that you could turn it around at some point and redirect it eventually? Again, I think you have a winner either way, but I don't know if both can win still. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if the timeline, the way it all went together.
So here's how I think they're doing it. So Elimination Chamber is in Montreal, which is where Sammy is from. Assuming that their past criminal history, for lack of a better way to word it, isn't going to be an issue, Jay and Jimmy will both be there in Canada. I think what they want to do is they did the Jay angle at Royal Rumble because they're going to set up the tag match by taking the heat that's on Roman and putting it on Jay, because Jay is going to turn on Sammy. And then you've got go to that match, and then you've got your Roman and Cody match. Because again, I don't think you can have Roman lose back-to-back pay-per-views. I know a lot of people said that split the titles up, and that solves it. Well, no, it doesn't, because I don't think you can't have him be undefeated practically as far as title matches in what 3 years, almost 3 years, I think, and then lose twice within a span of 2 months. I think they're going to split up the championships once Cody wins it. Now, I get that it's predictable, but I kind of think WWE wants it to be like they want people to be along for the ride, because it does have that Kofi Mania feel to it, even with Cody. I know it kind of has that feeling with Sami Zayn as well. It's kind of the same thing with Cody. It's kind of the same thing with Daniel Bryan, but what Cody needs to stop doing is these mega ultra babyface promos, because if he does that for the next 2 months, the crowd's going to turn on him, I think.
Yeah, I'm still struggling. It's not really I think timing is the problem. I don't think they intended for Sammy to blow up
Oh
with
no,
all of this
not at
stuff. I
all.
think it was meant to be comedic relief to kind of help things out, and then it blew up because it organically took off. So now you backed yourself into this is the problem I told you I had with AEW. When you back yourself into a corner with like a Miro
Hey,
versus Daniel Bryan.
real quick, you can keep talking. I'll be right back.
Okay, yeah.
Just 1 second.
You keep backing yourself into a corner like AEW did with Miro versus Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson. One wins, the other one loses, and it hurts. It hurts the story. It hurts everything. I think if you don't have Sammy win a championship here and not the tag belts, I'm talking win one of the main championships, you lose what was built so well organically in favor of the thing that you had your sights set on months ago. I think that Cody's been the target thing for probably the past 6 months, 7 months, whatever it's been that he's been around back in the W locker room. Obviously, it's a big slap to the face to AEW as well if they put the world title on Cody, just to kind of stick it to them in that way. So I get both sides of it. I think Cody could rebound better though. I think if he took the loss at Mania, not to mention what a swerve that would be, is you have this storyline that you think is so predictable, that you think is so, we did this with Brock Lesnar several times. We thought, oh, surely they're gonna have Brock drop it here. Nope. Surely they're gonna have Brock drop it here. Nope. Sure, like I think people are so convinced that, oh, Cody's gonna win it at WrestleMania. What if they swerved us? They had Sammy win it by cheating, so Roman could still say, I didn't get beat, I got cheated. And you can kind of do that with the whole Jey Uso thing. Him and Jimmy are having issues. Now, whoever they do put the Usos up against tag team wise, there's a hole and an empty gap to get the tag belts off the bloodline as well. Mm-hmm. To kind of get away from that, do something fresh as well. There's holes and gaps placed in that relationship too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, put the belt on Sammy at Elimination Chamber. You split the belts up there. And then when you get to Mania, man, Cody Rhodes, he looks like he's about to win it. He doesn't. Roman Reigns retains. Then you could have Cody Rhodes go on to be Money in the Bank. Win the Money in the Bank briefcase. He cashes in on Roman or Sammy or, whoever you want to at that point. But I think Cody has the star power to rebound. I don't know if Sami Zayn has that. And that's where I'm like, the Kofi Kingston moment, the Daniel Bryan moment. The name, those are the two that stick out to me the most right now. Those are moments you can't recreate. You can't redo them. You can't go back to them. I'll even argue Big E too, with Big E winning the Money in the Bank and cashing in. Like, these are moments that I don't think you can organically make over and over again. I think when they happen, you have to run with them. And I think it would be a slap to the face of how great the storyline has been to capitalize Sammy's story with a tag title run. And that's the only part of it that bothers me. If it didn't get as over as it is right now, I'd be like, yeah, oh yeah, I'm cool with that. But because he really, let's be real, the Bloodline and Roman Reigns aren't the hottest thing on TV right now. Sami Zayn is really what brings this storyline together. You need Roman, but Roman's the big bad guy. The superhero is Sami Zayn. It's not Cody Rhodes, it's Sami Zayn. So that's the struggle for me is the timing of it all. Obviously, if they were smart and they didn't want Roman to have back-to-back losses, they would have separated these titles a long time ago. They would have never probably put them together in the first place. So
I hear you, and just goes to show that, you know, WWE is doing their job and it's giving us something to talk about. And, you know, the Cody thing might be predictable, but I mean, who knows? They could, you know, WWE could say, you think you know what we're doing, but we don't. I mean, that's why we're talking about it. I mean,
right.
I know we're saying that Cody's the predictable thing, but I guess we'll wait and see. Time to give some Lord Alfred Hayes.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Guys, we have got a lot of announcements, so stick around for the next few minutes. But I want to remind you about a few things. So normally we are live every Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. But this will actually be the last podcast for a while that we're having a normal Sunday night podcast where we interact with you guys, have our segments, because we've got a lot of guests and events coming up. So before I get there, I wanted to throw up this graphic. So Cole and I, as the Going Broadway podcast, we are proud and honored to be talent sponsoring the one and only Motor City Machine Guns for the event that's taking place here in St. Louis on Saturday, March 18th. It is at the Grandel Theater. It is their, so right now they put on annual events. This is their St. Louis versus the World 2 event. So this is their second time holding this event. But again, we're proud and honored to be the talent sponsor for Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, the Motor City Machine Guns. And I don't know if we'll be able to attend that event. I can actually say for sure I can't. I'm not sure what Cole's schedule is, but we have talked with the promoter and things, and we do want to be more involved with them, more involved with the local St. Louis wrestling scene. And so we're excited to partner with them. We are still on Pro Wrestling Tees, guys. You can check us out at prowrestlingtees.com/GoingBrdwyPodcast. We do have a couple of new Colamania shirts, so you can get those. Red shirt with yellow print or yellow shirt with red print. Take your pick. Get your Colamania shirts now, as well as our other SKUs that are out there. So back to our broadcast schedule, if you will, for the next few weeks. So first things first, the date on this is incorrect. B. Brian Blair is joining us, but it's going to be Monday the 13th instead of Monday the 12th, because no one's going to be watching us on Super Bowl Sunday. So just make sure that you take note of that. We are not having a podcast a week from today because of Super Bowl Sunday. We will be having B. Brian Blair join us Monday the 13th. And it is at a special time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. Once again, Monday, February 12th, special time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. B. Brian Blair joining us. Then the following Saturday, we've been talking about it, Elimination Chamber, and you guys have been asking, when's your guys' next watch party? Well, join us on Twitch only for our Elimination Chamber watch party. Saturday, February 18th, we will go live right when the pay-per-view does, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. But it is going to be on Twitch only. So we've said over and over and over, make sure you follow us on Twitch. Make sure you subscribe on Twitch so you can avoid all of the ads during the pay-per-view event, because we can't control the ads, but you guys can. So if you subscribe, it eliminates all of those ads. You won't have to worry about those popping up during the pay-per-view. I believe, I've not played around with it, I believe this will be, full-on video and audio during the pay-per-view. So I got to work on that. We will have at least video, but we'll work on the audio side as well, and hopefully we'll have that available as well. So, going week by week, that will be our quote unquote show or podcast for that week. So we won't have a podcast that Sunday either. So what would that be? The 18th? 19th. I'm sorry. So the Elimination Chamber is on the 18th. Sunday the 19th, we will not have a podcast. I know I'm throwing a lot of dates at you guys. Then the week after that, we've got Bobby Fish joining us. Gosh, I can't see anything with that stuff scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Hang on. There we go. Bobby Fish joining us. Normal time, Sunday the 26th, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Then the week after that, Eric Bischoff, Sunday, March 5th. Then the week after Eric Bischoff, this is the first time we've announced this. And Cole literally prepped this. Cole prepped this upcoming graphic and the Elimination Chamber graphic literally before we went live. So then the following week, March the 12th, we have John Alba joining us. He is the co-host of Strictly Business with Eric Bischoff. He co-hosts Matt Hardy's podcast. So we're excited to have him on as a guest as well. Then the week after that, Marcus Bagwell on the 19th. As of now, we'll have a couple weeks to breathe, so to speak, as far as, our normal podcasts. To be determined on that. I know I've talked with someone else that we might squeeze in either late March or early April. We'll see. But then first or second Monday in April, we have Jake Roberts joining us. Again, that's a special date and time as well. That's Monday, April 10th, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. So if you follow us on all of our social media platforms, we'll get all these graphics up. So you guys can stay up to date on all those dates. But no, we're excited about the next few months. Just being able to have all these guests on and chat with them, and just kind of reflecting on the 3 years we've done this podcast. If you would have told us that we'd be having guests on, and I would have said you're crazy, because like we've said before, we have mostly zero connection with the wrestling business and inner workings and things like that. And so we just feel truly honored and blessed that we're able to have these guests on. So Cole, do you want to say anything about the gaming side of things?
Yeah. So guys, sometime this week, hopefully in the next day or two, for our patrons only, or first, a little head start, we'll get the first Going Broadway podcast gaming pay-per-view.
Oh, sorry, real quick. I'll let you finish in just a second. Guys, we're actually going to do our fan mail segment after this. So get your questions in, and we'll tackle a few questions before our next segment. I know it's been a while since we've done a fan mail segment, so I figured why not? We'll do one. So anyway, continue.
So we're going to get our first Going Broadway podcast gaming pay-per-view going. So for patrons only here in the next day or two, we'll get the match card up, and you'll be able to purchase your selections. The only rule that we're going to make, because each match has several or different amounts of people that can be in them, you cannot occupy more than 50% of the match. So if it's a one-on-one match, you can't buy both slots and guarantee yourself a drawing for a belt. You are only able to get one or two. If it's a tag match, you can get a tag team by yourself, or you can share a slot with somebody, and both of you will get an entry if you win. But you can only occupy 50% or less of a match. So that's the only rule that we're going to put on it. Each match will be at a different dollar amount rule.
That is correct.
Not really, though. There are several of you that buy several slots, and so we just want to make sure that everyone's getting a fair shot at it as best as we can. But we also want to reward our patron members for being a part. So it's kind of a happy medium that we came up with for that, and we'll try to run it and we'll see how it goes. But basically for every match that you win, you get a drawing into a belt raffle. So I believe there's 8 matches. So there's a potential for 9 drawings though, because if you share a tag slot with somebody, both of you will get an entry into the match. Or if you buy a tag team by yourself, you'll get 2 entries into that match. So there'll be 9 entries altogether. So, and then we'll draw a winner on our next podcast, and you will get a belt. So,
and to your point too, again, you can't buy more than 50% of the slots in a particular match. Each slot, correct me if I'm wrong, each slot will be staggered differently in terms of costs.
It's all based off of how many are in the match. So, for instance, if we do a one-on-one match, you have a 50-50 shot at winning that match. So we're making that a higher tier cost to get into that match because it's a better guarantee versus like an 8-man match where we're going to make it a cheaper cost because your percentages go down extremely, and we're aware of that. So that's kind of what we got going on the gaming. That's going to kind of be our mold, I think, moving forward outside of special events that we plan that we'll announce ahead of time is we'll do a monthly pay-per-view, and you guys will be able to participate in that. So give me a day or two. I got to get with Alex on getting the outline made for the match card and stuff, and we'll get that posted for our Patreon members, which is a reminder again, go join our Patreon. $5 a month is the lowest tier, and that will allow you early access just like everybody else has to get your slots. And it's not about just getting your slots, but getting your wrestler that you want to, because we are not allowing duplicate wrestlers. So if a wrestler is picked for a tag match and you wanted them for a singles match, if they are already picked and selected, you cannot get them again on the card.
Correct.
So make sure that you're keeping that in mind. Also, guys, make sure you join the Discord and refer to the list of wrestlers that are there that are the downloadable characters, and also refer to WWE's roster. You can look that up online to select your characters. It is, I'm just going to speak for Alex and I both. It is really hard for us to answer the question of, is this character available or not when we're both at work or we're both away from our house computer or the ability to search it. So if you could do us a favor and do your best to try to locate if that wrestler's on the game. Basically, what I'm saying is if it says it's on the game outside of Eddie Guerrero, which I need to find time to redo the Rey Mysterio showcase because I had all that stuff deleted the first time I did it. I'm pretty sure I have every unlockable character that you can get on the game. And so if you're unsure, message, but do your best to try to, select from the rosters that are made available to you.
And make sure, so when you Google, you can literally just Google WWE 2K22 roster. Make sure you're Googling 2K22. We do not have 2K23 yet. We'll keep you updated on that. I mean, it's not even been released yet. But also when you're looking at the roster, make sure that it says that, it's on the active or default roster, and it's not just like if it says DLC, that means downloadable character. That means we probably don't have it. Just assume that we don't have it.
You need to refer to our downloadable character roster for that, which again is on our Discord. So,
and I posted the link for it as well. So join our Discord. It's free. Everyone can join, and that link should actually take you straight to our gaming roster thread. And if it doesn't, you can just, you can tell it says gaming roster. There's an entire separate thread for it.
So those are the two big things we want you to get on Patreon. So you can get early access, $5 a month at least. But check out the other tiers because there's great things that come with them. And then as well as getting on our Discord so you can see the roster. So that's really all we got, but we'll get those posted as soon as possible for you guys.
Indeed. All right. Like I said, it's been a while since we've had this segment, but we're bringing it back.
Just when they think they got the answers, I change the questions.
So let's tackle a few questions. Are we ever going to see Cole go through a table?
It's on the bucket list. It is. And what's crazy is actually I keep running into more and more people who are into pro wrestling and want to do different things. And so I'm just waiting for the opportunity to safely be put through a table. I don't need to be paralyzed or anything like that for trying to mark it off my bucket list, but it is on the list.
What is your favorite belt?
Oh, come on, you already know mine. Yeah,
Not that it makes that noise, but
mine's the John Cena spinner belt. Regardless of the hate that it gets.
I mean, I think mine's gosh, I keep going between Big Gold and Winged Eagle.
I was gonna say I thought it was the winged eagle, but
no, it's the. Oh gosh, I'm still saying Big Gold, but Winged Eagle is always going to be a close second. And then if you ask me on a different day, I might say the exact opposite. Like if somebody ever made the Winged Eagle the size of a Big Gold, that would be pretty cool. Like the Winged Eagle, like to its exact specs. I'm not talking about, I know they made a Big Eagle, but it was different. I'm talking Winged Eagle with like the sidebars and everything, but the size of a Big Gold, that'd be pretty sweet. So yeah, that's my answer. I don't know.
So it's not that they're not downloadable. I didn't buy the NWO pack thing, so I didn't get them. When you get into the DLC, for some reason they're able to put like achievements that you have to hit, and a lot of the downloadable ones still say you have to buy the NWO pack though. When it comes in, I think there's a few that people created that don't have that, but they look terrible. And I was pretty adamant about getting characters that actually look as close to the part as I can get them. So I didn't download them for that reason.
It's not a question, but I had to put this one up.
Now listen, I would trust Kylie to put me through a table. I would really want to trust who's doing it. I got a buddy here who's got a really cool story about pro wrestling and his upbringing in it. And I would trust him to do it. And we were going to, but I didn't realize how much tables cost. And I could not justify paying like $120 for a wood table just for me to break it. So that's kind of been the struggle.
I mean, that's fair.
I do remember a question. I don't know if I can scroll up to find it. But somebody asked us our thoughts on who we think the Hall of Fame is going to be this year.
Oh.
I can't. I do remember the question. I don't remember who. Y'all refresh me if that was one of y'all. Drop it back in the comments so I can give you credit for it. But I know.
Why are we talking about nipples? What is happening?
Something to do. Travis, I think, brought it up that John Cena thin about this is the comment that brought it up. I can't find nipples less than 400. I don't.
Maybe he meant to say anything. I don't know. I can't find anything less than 400.
375. That is.
Oh man. Anyway. Okay. Hall of Fame. Reel it back in.
Man, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, Batista would be a good one just because it's in Hollywood.
They owe it to him too because he was
Yeah.
COVID year, right? Like he was supposed to go in. So let's do this. Who is the big one? Who's the big name that gets the highlight?
I mean, Vince is always a possibility.
I mean, true. Is it too soon to say John Cena? Just because, I mean, like, yeah, like he has a couple more years maybe to do like one-off matches and feuds and stuff, but he's up there in age. You know, the Hall of Famer John Cena's back for these feuds. You know, they're doing it with Edge still. You know, I mean,
yeah. I mean, Chris is right. The Rock's always a possibility.
The Rock hasn't gone in?
Rock? No.
See, it's so confusing now because when they bring these guys back, they call them the Hall of Famers and stuff when they haven't actually been like inducted. And I forget who's in what.
Yeah.
But Cena,
One that
The Rock, Batista, all of those. I mean, anybody who's kind of acting now.
One that I saw on social media, this wouldn't be the big one, but one that I saw on Twitter, I think, and I'd be super behind is Demolition.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be one I have to actually like research, think about. Because like offhand, there are a lot of people that are coming to mind, but I'm pretty sure they're already in the Hall of Fame.
Well, let's turn to the Google machine real quick while we have a moment, and see biggest names not in WWE Hall of Fame.
So I'll just go through this list. So I've got Vince, The Rock, Jericho. He's not. I don't think he's going in. Owen Hart. He's probably not going to go in. Big Show. He's not going in. Batista.
Someone said Bam Bam Bigelow.
Okay. Rey Mysterio.
Ray could be a good one if he's done. I don't know if he's the main one though.
Yeah.
I mean, Big Show. I mean, is there any likelihood that even though they're AEW, they would induct them right now?
I don't think you put him in the Hall of Fame just because it's Mania weekend. That's when you've got the most eyes on your product.
Agreed.
But Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman's a good one. I am seeing Demolition on this list.
Here's one for you, and I know a lot of people are going to love this name. Jim Cornette. Let's see who else. Lex Luger.
Here's one, not the main one, but Fit Finley.
Yeah,
he could be one that they put in on the side.
Here's one. Miss Elizabeth. Again, shout out to the Macho Man. By the way, thoughts and prayers with the Poffo family as well, with Laney passing away. Not that they'll see this, but just throwing that out there. Brian Pillman.
Wait. IRS hasn't been inducted yet? I'm looking.
Psycho Sid. Kamala.
Here's another one. Ken Shamrock.
Okay.
Ken Shamrock hasn't been inducted.
Ken Patera. Said Bam Bam already.
Michelle McCool hasn't been inducted yet, which is insane that the Bellas got in before her, by the way. That's
gosh.
Absolutely insane. But
ooh, here's a good one. William Regal.
He is back. Now, can he do it if he's not allowed to be on TV? Can he accept?
Yeah, that's true.
That's the sucky thing is if he has an agreement that it takes a year, I don't think he can do it.
Maybe next year.
How
about Earthquake?
Shane McMahon.
Yeah.
If you're talking, I'm looking at a few more of these.
See, a lot of the people they're throwing on so at least on the website that I'm on, they are including guys that never, ever even wrestled in WWE.
Right.
Like never even competed in WWE at any point. I'm
trying to see if I see any other.
The Doctor of Style, Slick.
Can you do the Great Muta?
See, that's one I came across, but he was never in WWE. It just
they have done it before though, where they've given the honor to people even though they weren't WWE.
I guess. The Nasty Boys. I don't feel like you can put the Nasty Boys in before Demolition though. Here's
No,
one. MVP.
as far as like a mid like a mid Carter Hall of Fame entrant, I could see that one. Triple H himself hasn't gone in yet.
That's true.
So you could technically do Triple H. Victoria hasn't gone in yet.
But she's an Impact now.
Again, right? True. That's everyone I'm seeing. I think like obviously your bigger names are, Rock, Cena, Triple H. As far as tag team goes, I do like Demolition. I think that's a good one to look at.
John Laurinaitis. Yeah, right.
Stop.
Okay.
But that's a good one. That was a good question. Like I haven't even given it much thought.
Somebody earlier said Brother Love, Bruce Pritchard. I mean,
yeah, I could see Brother Love, Rick Martel. I did see that name.
yeah, I saw that.
I don't know. I like I said, as far as like the main inductee, I think you're starting to kind of get to the point where you're running out of the real big names.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like you think like Taker last year, so you're like, how do you up that this year?
Who goes into the celebrity wing?
I wouldn't be shocked if they do someone as more recent, like Bad Bunny or Logan Paul, even. From the standpoint of that, or you could even look at Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a couple more. If we have any. Do we get any more? Honky Tonk Man, right.
I haven't seen any more recently, but one thing that we did, and maybe this would be a question to kind of piggyback off this as well, is that we talked about potentially giving our way too early WrestleMania predictions.
Yeah. I had that as a planned segment tonight. I think we're gonna
shelf it. All right.
We're gonna shelf that one for a later date. And honestly, I don't know when that later date will be because
we're busy.
We got things to do. I don't know. We might talk about that during Elimination Chamber.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have downtime to talk.
Yeah, thanks for the questions, guys. Really appreciate it. But for now, it is about that time. Cole, any final thoughts?
Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching the greatest wrestling podcast ever. We sincerely appreciate it. Remember that tonight was unofficially sponsored by Mountain Dew Pitch Black. There you
Cole
go.
chugged his.
I was thirsty. I was actually trying hard not to drink it before the show. So drink, chug. Oh,
I'm enjoying it.
But thank you guys so much for watching. We really do appreciate it. Again, we'll be posting all of these social media posts about our future guests. So make sure you're following. Please go follow the Instagram and tell people to get behind it. We're trying to get the numbers back up there and whatnot. Also, I forgot to mention it earlier. Be watching our YouTube page. We have all our clips of our interview with Alundra Blaze / Medusa that are up, and you can share those. I've clipped them into different segments and stuff. So they're set to premiere on Tuesdays and Thursdays the rest of this month. So if you could give those a like, give them a comment, share it. That just helps us get the word out a little bit more on that interview. And I am working on doing some stuff with our Kylie Ray interview. That one's a little bit harder to clip because we pretty much spent the whole time on one story. So I'm trying my best to clip some things there. So we're just trying to grow. We're trying to get better, y'all. So if you could also go and give that a like, a share as those drop, that would be a huge help as well. Again, don't forget, patrons, we're going to drop our gaming pay-per-view here in the next day or two. So keep your eyes out for that.
It will be this week.
And other than that, guys,
hold on, pause real quick before you give the people what they want. Just to kind of recap real quick, our next couple weeks, I won't go through all of our guests, but again, Cole, did you freeze? Unfreeze. So we will not have a podcast a week from today because it's Super Bowl Sunday. So enjoy the game. I think most of you guys that watch us, if you're football fans, I don't think any of your teams made it. If they did, awesome. But enjoy the game either way. Enjoy the food, festivities. Be safe, be responsible, obviously. But then join us the following night for our interview with B. Brian Blair. Again, that's February the 13th. We did not correct that graphic, but it is Monday the 13th. It's also at a special time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. So again, no Sunday podcast next week or the following week, because we'll have our watch party for Elimination Chamber Saturday, February 18th, which will take the place of our podcast that would normally be on the 19th. But join us for a watch party on Twitch only Saturday, February 18th. We'll go live when the pay-per-view does, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Again, it's so important, guys, to follow and subscribe on Twitch so you can get rid of those ads and not have to worry about those popping up during the pay-per-view so you guys don't miss anything. It's only, what is it on Twitch to subscribe? $4.99.
$4.99, I think, is the price. And it helps with the gaming tournament too, or any of the gaming stuff we do. You won't get ads during that as well. So
indeed. And then rounding out February, we've got Bobby Fish joining us at our normal day and time. Get rid of these banners and such. Hang on. Maybe. Why isn't it going away? There it goes. Okay. Normal date and time, Sunday, February 26th, and that will round out our February. I'm not going to bring up the rest of the dates and guests and stuff, but you can check us out on our social media platforms. I'll get all those updated in the next day or two as well, so you can stay informed with all of our guests and dates and such over the next couple months.
Oh, is it me again?
It is you now. It is all you now.
All right, y'all. Well, I don't know how good it's going to sound, but guys, thank you again for watching. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a great week. And I leave you with your favorite thing in the entire world.
And I'll try to piggyback Cole, and not that it was a bad one, but I'll just kind of give you a crow call myself and see how it goes. Just, uh-oh.
You're going to do the
crow right?
call? You're going to do the crow call? I'm sorry.
Oh, guys, make sure you join us this upcoming Monday, a week from tomorrow, for our interview with B. Brian Blair. Special time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. And we'll see you then.